Ushio is an average-looking high school student who enjoys drawing and dreams of becoming a painter. However, he comes from a lineage of elite samurais who once fought against the world's evil. According to legends told by his father, a lecturer at the temple, 500 years ago, the earth was on the brink of destruction due to a legendary monster that killed everyone in its path. People were so terrified that they fled their villages at the mere rumor of the monster's presence. One of Ushio's ancestors, a powerful samurai, used a spear specially crafted in China to impale the monster against a wall, stopping it but losing his own life in the process. This morning, Ushio had a heated argument with his father, which escalated to the point where Ushio kicked him in the jaw. Frustrated, Ushio demanded to see the legendary spear his father always talked about, leading to another round of fighting. Angered, his father began packing his things. When Ushio asked if he was leaving for good, his father replied that he was just going on a 7-day vacation to Netflix and chill, needing a break from Ushio's irritating presence. Before leaving, his father instructed him to dust the books in the shed. Still angry, Ushio told his father to get lost and slammed the door. Later that day, Ushio decided to follow his father's instructions. While carrying a heavy load of books in the shed, he tripped and fell, discovering a hidden trapdoor covered by a carpet. Determined to open it, Ushio used his brute strength to rip the bolts off, but the door was so heavy that he fell inside. As he stood up and brushed off the dust, he felt an eerie presence behind him. Turning slowly, he was shocked to see a giant yellow monster sitting by the wall. Terrified, Ushio was even more startled when the monster spoke, asking why he was staring so creepily. Then the monster suddenly tells Ushio that it is good that he came down as he is currently impaled by this damned spear and only a human can pull it out of him. The monster tells him that he has been trying to get himself out of this situation from the past 500 years, but no matter what he does, he cannot seem to get rid of the damned spear. He tells Ushio again to remove the spear, but Ushio asks him what he will do. He does. The monster looks him in the eye and tells him that first he will devour Ushio, and then he will kill the rest of the people living around and once again create this world a living hell. Ushio starts kicking the spear more inside of the monster, and the monster starts crying out of pain as he doesn't realize why Ushio doesn't want to let him loose from the spear. The monster then tries to attack Ushio and is able to reach him with his nails, cutting him above the forehead, but Ushio is a Giga-Chad and just keeps pushing the spear even more inside of him. He then gets up and starts going up the stairs, but the monster gets scared of losing his chance to escape and starts calling him and saying that he didn't mean what he said and that he just got carried away by the thought of freedom. He tells Ushio that if he pulls the spear out of him, he will do whatever he says, and he will keep this promise as he is scared of humans. Ushio, however, looks at him and tells him that he will not let a monster like him lose in this world ever, and walks outside and proceeds to bore the entire trapdoor up, while the monster cries out to him to not do it. Ushio then proceeds to go to school as if nothing had happened. The balls on this man must be made up of steel. He meets up with two of his classmates named Ino and Naka, who both seem to like Ushio. Ino comments that Ushio seems to be lost in his own thoughts, and asks him whether he was okay. Even Naka comments that it is not like Ushio to think about anything ever before. She asks him whether he brought the book that he borrowed from her several days back, and Ushio says he hasn't. Naka tells him that she will be coming after school to his place, so he better keep the book ready, and they all go inside their classes. Even in class, Ushio can't help but think about the monster in his basement and starts drawing a picture of it before he is invited to play soccer. He has amazing reflexes and is able to win the game very easily for his team before he decides to go back to his place. In the afternoon, Naka, alongside Ino, visits his house to get the book back, but as soon as Ushio opens the door, he spots some weird transparent flying thingies that look like the floaters that you see sometimes in your eyes. He tries to get rid of them, but to the girls it looks like Ushio has gone insane, and to bring him back to reality, Naka kicks him in the face. Excellent job, woman. Now he has amnesia as well. Ushio gets up and runs towards the shed, where he starts taking the wooden planks apart and shouts at the monster, asking him what he did to his eyes as he is seeing illusions. The monster laughs at Ushio, explaining that when Ushio opened the trapdoor, he released 500 years worth of demonic energy into the world, which attracted lesser demons. The monster adds that these demons will soon materialize and start killing humans indiscriminately. Blaming Ushio for the imminent chaos, the monster promises that if Ushio frees him, he will spare Ushio and his friends and eliminate all the lesser demons in the area. With no other choice, Ushio grabs the legendary spear with both hands and pulls it free from the monster's body after some effort. Impressed by Ushio's strength, the monster nonetheless decides to attack. He throws Ushio against the wall, causing him to bleed. When Ushio questions the monster's betrayal, the monster mocks him for trusting such a promise. Desperate and thinking about the danger to his friends, Ushio begins to feel an unholy aura surrounding him. His hair starts growing, terrifying the monster, who realizes that Ushio is beginning to resemble the samurai who impaled him centuries ago. Despite his fear, Ushio pursues the monster, killing every lesser demon in his path. In a sudden transformation, the monster morphs into a creature resembling Pikachu, using electric attacks to shock the lesser demons to a crisp. Apologizing to Ushio, the monster promises to help eradicate all the demons. Ushio notices that the lesser demons have merged into a larger entity near his house. He instructs the monster to attack the greater demon first, promising to follow up and finish it off. The monster obediently leaps into the sky, using his claws to tear through the greater demon. Ushio then jumps and uses the spear to shred the demon to pieces. As he lands, his hair begins to return to normal. The monster, having kept his promise to kill the lesser demons, starts to walk away. However, Ushio stops him, insisting that they stay together until every single demon is vanquished. He names the monster Tora and starts walking towards his house with him, thinking that a day will come soon when he will impale the monster and seal him again. The following day, Ushio wakes up to the loud sound of Tora breaking his TV, as he thought the samurai inside of it was coming to kill him. Ushio goes to school alongside Tora, who is sitting on his shoulder and is invisible to the rest of the students. Ushio is forced to carry his spear with him, as he needs the spear to draw out his powers in case Tora decides to rebel. He meets up with Ino and Naka inside of the school, who claim that they both had the same scary dream last night about a bunch of monsters trying to kill them. Ushio just smiles, glad that they don't know what happened in reality. He asks them about where they were headed to, and they reply that they are going inside of the old school building to shift some books as they want to renovate it. Ushio reminds her that the class begins soon, and she replies that she will be back before that. Ushio goes inside of the class, but some time passes by and the girls still haven't returned. The teacher has already started teaching about Japanese history, and out of everyone in the class, Tora seems to be the most interested in knowing what happened in the last 500 years, and is even taking notes. Suddenly, the ground shakes, and a very shrill noise is being emitted by Ushio's spear that apparently only he can hear. He gets scared for the girls and immediately grabs his spear and rushes outside of the class. And on the staircase, he is shocked to see one of the girls that went with Naka and Ino, half turned into stone, asking for help and crying. Ushio screams at the teacher to help the girl and rushes outside. The news spreads like wildfire, and a bunch of media and police arrive in front of the old school building, presuming it to be a case of kidnapping. They enter inside the school, but are unable to find anything, and they come out once again, confused as to where did the girls go. Ushio asks Tora what is this all about, and he starts laughing, saying he can't believe Ushio didn't feel the presence of the giant rock monster residing in the old building. Ushio grabs his hair and tells him to give more information, but Tora snaps back and scratches him on his hand, claiming that he will give him no more information. He tells Ushio that humans don't mean anything to him and he will devour them if it comes to it. But Ushio gets mad and takes out his spear and attacks Tora. Tora dodges and strikes back, but Ushio is able to dodge his claws and hits him in the face before impaling his hand to the ground a little bit. Tora starts crying out in pain and tells him to take it out. Ushio removes the spear, and Tora tells him he's pretty sure the culprit is a rock eater that lives in dark, musty places, waiting for humans to enter its territory so it can devour them. Tora also claims that rock eaters are dangerous. He once saw one turn an entire group of armored samurais into stone. Fed up with the conversation, Ushio decides to act. He rushes past the police trying to stop him and enters the old building. He slashes at an invisible barrier, breaking it to reveal a giant rock samurai. The samurai attacks Ushio, but he blocks it, jumps behind, and stabs the samurai in the chest, thinking he has killed it. Tora starts laughing, telling him the samurai is just a puppet, not the actual monster. Suddenly, a tentacle emerges from the samurai's eye, stabbing Ushio, who loses his spear and turns back to normal. He tries to retrieve the spear, but two more tentacles emerge from the samurai, slamming him against the ceiling. As the barrier starts closing, Tora decides to hop to the other side, warning Ushio that he will die an agonizing death if he can't escape in time. Ushio looks back at Tora and asks for help. Tora refuses, saying he's done with him, but Ushio surprises him by asking him to save the girls and run away. Tora, in disbelief, asks if he's crazy. Why save others when he's in danger? But Ushio stands his ground and pleads with Tora to save the girls. Tora eventually gives in, rushing to carry the girls outside the barrier. He looks back at Ushio, who thanks him for saving the girls and apologizes for not letting Tora devour him. Tora, having had enough, jumps between the barrier, stopping it from closing, even as he starts to turn to stone. The Rock Eater is shocked to see a monster taking a human side, and uses a bunch of his tentacles to stab Tora as well, who can't do anything, because he is stopping the barrier. Ushio wishes very hard for the spear to come to him, and surprisingly the spear flies towards him and stabs him in the stomach where the rock formation has been completed. Suddenly, he stops changing into a stone, and then the spear rushes towards Tora, who gets scared, but the spear just lodges itself in the barrier, letting Tora leave. Tora gets out from between the wall and walks towards the Rock Eater, and Pikachu's the crap out of him. There is a huge explosion, and both Ushio and Tora launch themselves in the sky. The samurai crumbles to pieces, and the actual monster appears in the form of 2 centipede heads. Tora tells him that this is the real monster, and Ushio has to use his spit on their eyes to weaken and kill them. Ushio starts falling towards the centipedes, and he spits on his spear before stabbing it in the centipede's eyes, one by one, killing the monster in an instant. He then quickly slashes at the girls, who return to stone, which releases them from the curse before running away with Tora in the sunset. That night, Tora and Ushio are on TV, which delights Tora as he can't get enough of it while Ushio tries to sleep. Ushio's father has finally returned from the trip, and once again, he starts lecturing Ushio in the morning about their history, without knowing that the damn monster that he is talking about is literally behind him. His dad once again tells him never to try and go under the shed, and Ushio quickly changes the topic and gets up to leave for school. His dad looks at the giant spear that he is carrying and uneasily laughs about how it looks like a legendary spear, but it obviously cannot be. Ushio laughs with him, saying that it obviously isn't, before briskly walking out of the house. His dad follows him and looks with his jaw dropped that the trap door has been completely destroyed. Later that day, Ushio alongside the girls and Tora visit the art gallery, where Ushio seems to be very excited and happy looking at all these pictures. Tora can't quite understand Ushio's excitement over paint splattered on paper, but he still sits on his shoulder and goes along with him. They eventually arrive at a picture that Ushio describes as the masterpiece of the great artist Hanyu, who died after creating it. The girls ask why it's just a photograph of the actual painting, and Ushio explains that the real painting belongs to Hanyu's daughter, Raiko. Tora, however, stares at the picture for a while and realizes that the artist was a human demon and the painting is cursed. The following day, as Ushio is walking to school, a senior trips him and starts punching him for no apparent reason. Tora laughs and watches the fight from a distance. Suddenly, a girl walks up and tells the senior to let go of Ushio. The senior stops and walks away, and the crowd disperses. Ushio immediately recognizes the girl as Raiko from the painting and calls after her. She turns around and tells him she didn't do it for him, so he shouldn't get any ideas. Ushio, however, persists and asks if she is Raiko, the daughter of the famous painter Hanyu. She confirms her identity and turns around the corner, with Ushio still in pursuit. A speeding truck comes barreling through, hitting Tora, but Ushio manages to grab his spear and transform just in time to split the truck in two, saving himself. Raiko disappears, and Ushio heads back to his house. Later, he goes to Naka's place and asks her about Raiko. At first, Naka is defensive, thinking he likes Raiko, but Ushio explains that he only wants her to model for a painting. He tells Naka it has always been his dream to draw her as one of his French girls. Naka starts telling him about Raiko and reveals that she was a transfer student last year in their school, and the boys were immediately smitten by her beauty. But she always kept to herself and never talked to anyone. Naka, however, wanted to have friends and started talking to her, and slowly she started opening up. They become friends, but once a guy from her class asked her out, and suddenly that very day, he died because a bunch of bricks fell on him, crushing him to death. That very day, Raiko tried to off herself inside of her own tub, but thankfully she was found by the authorities before late, and they saved her. And once when Naka tries to force her to talk, she puts her away. She tells her that she needs to stay away from her, as if she doesn't, bad things will happen to her. Just then, sharp objects fall out of Sky's ass for no reason, but Raiko jumps on Naka and protects her from dying by getting stabbed. She then told her to stay away from her, as she doesn't want her to get hurt because of her. That day, when he was walking back to his place, he is again stopped by the senior, who grabs him and asks him why he is nosing around Raiko and punches him in the face, which delights Tora, who starts enjoying the show as both the senior and Ushio fight with each other. Finally, Ushio the idiot stops the senior's punch with his head, as he doesn't any brain inside anyways, and tells the senior that he knows that the senior is aware of Raiko's problem before punching the senior to the ground. They then lay down on the ground next to each other and start talking. The senior reveals that when they were young, he and Raiko were best friends and practically inseparable. Then one day, her mother eloped with one of her dad's art students and everything changed. The next time you saw her dad, he was frantically and demonically working on the painting of Raiko, and it looked like he was possessed. The very next day, he died, and ever since he has been haunting Raiko and not letting poor Raiko live her life as he is scared that a guy will take her away from him. Ushio decides that he will not back off this easily, and next day during the folk dance, he is able to convince Raiko to dance with him. And she reluctantly agrees, but slowly starts liking being normal, but suddenly a dust devil erupts and covers both of them inside of it. Suddenly Ushio is hit from behind, and a huge gash erupts on his back, and he starts bleeding. Suddenly, a demon comes out of the dust devil and tells Ushio to piss off as Raiko only belongs to Daddy. He tries hitting Ushio again, but this time Tora comes through and stops the demon, telling him that no half-demon touches his human, and shocks him away. The senior rushes towards Ushio and helps him up, and by the time they look around, they realize that Raiko has disappeared. They both rush towards her house and are horrified to see her on top of her house as she jumps off the roof, telling her dad that she is coming to him. Ushio quickly throws his spear into the wall, and she gets stuck on the spear a bit, while he and the senior runs the first floor, and together they are able to grab it. To their absolute horror, the demon is standing below, calling Raiko to him, saying that she belonged to Daddy and Daddy alone. Ushio yells at her to ignore the demon and reminds her that she is not alone, that there are people who care about her. He urges her to choose the living over the dead. Something clicks within her, and she grabs their hands, allowing them to pull her inside. The demon, upset that her daughter has betrayed her just like her mother did, grabs both Raiko and the senior, dragging them back into the painting. Ushio quickly seizes his spear and lunges at the demon, attempting to stab it, but his spear has no effect. Tora laughs and tells him that within the picture world, he cannot kill the demon. The demon then grabs Ushio and begins to pull him in as well. Tora mocks Ushio, telling him to beg for his help, but Ushio remains silent and gets sucked into the painting. This infuriates Tora, who leaps into the painting, grabs Ushio's head, and declares that only he gets to devour Ushio. The painting resists, so Tora enters the painting, slaps the demon, and rescues everyone. He then instructs Ushio to stab the painting. Ushio thrusts his spear into the painting, but at the last moment, Raiko gets in the way and is stabbed alongside the painting. Ushio and the senior are horrified, but it turns out the spear does not harm Raiko. She slips off, and the painting is destroyed. Tora explains that the spear only affects demons and does not harm humans. They all see that a golden projection of Raiko's dad erupts from the painting, and it bows in front of them before telling Raiko to live her life to the fullest and disappearing. Tora has adapted to living with Ushio, even though he still sometimes tries to find places where Ushio doesn't take his spear with him, so that Tora can attack, but even when he tried attacking him, the bathroom Ushio beat him up as he even carried the spear inside. Ushio walks to the living room and discovers a letter by his dad which told him not to look for him. What a drama queen. He then turns on the TV and sees an emergency announcement telling people that one of the areas in Tokyo is unsafe to go because there might be some big wild animal nearby. According to the report, a bunch of construction workers who were trying to excavate a giant landmark were killed by an unknown animal, as there were a bunch of huge bite marks all over their bodies. The thing that is puzzling to them is that whatever animal it was even bit through the metal of the cranes. Tora immediately is filled with unreal rage as he thinks that it must be the work of Tora, as he is the one who looks like an animal and can definitely chew through metal. He shouts Tora's name. He comes down and asks Ushio why he was making such a racket, but is surprised to see Ushio already transformed and angry. He asks him what is the matter, but Ushio straight up accuses him of killing the people in the city and attacks him. Tora dodges and screams that he has no idea what Ushio is talking about, but Ushio simply smacks the spear on his head, with a lot of force hurting him. Tora gets incredibly angry and backs off before trying to Pikachu the crap out of Ushio. Ushio, however, is able to absorb all of the lightning with the help of his spear, and Tora realizes that currently Ushio is stronger than him and jumps up in the sky before flying away, telling Ushio that he never ate any humans for the past 500 years, but now that Ushio has already accused him for something that he never did. He goes into the city and is totally shocked to see so many weird things that he has never seen before. He is shocked to see the huge buildings and the cars rolling around on the road and doesn't have any idea what he should make of them. He is also shocked to see how many humans are walking on the road, but thinks that it would just make his job easier. He tries walking on the road but is instantly hit by a truck and gets stuck in the wall. Furious, he starts yelling at the passing cars, but no one can see him. In a fit of rage, He uses his lightning attack to destroy the battery of every nearby car, feeling satisfied with his little act of revenge. Meanwhile, Ushio runs towards the city. As he walks past a street, he notices a crowd gathered around a crime scene and goes over to take a look. The police are telling people to stay back, but an old man insists that the incident is not the work of animals, but demons released the previous night. He pulls out a book and shows it to them, claiming it is his grandfather's journal, which clearly states that the site was where demons were sealed away. The policeman, losing patience, pushes the old man, who stumbles but is caught by Ushio. Ushio comments on the rude behavior of the policeman and asks the old man if he is okay. He picks up the old man's book and suddenly stops when he sees a picture of a beautiful older woman inside it. The old man explains that the journal belonged to his grandfather, who wrote about demons lurking in the forest that devoured anyone who came near. The villagers called everyone they can think of, samurais and war riggers and even exorcists, but they never returned back alive. The villagers finally decided that they cannot stay here anymore, as every other day someone from the village would get eaten by the demons. One day, however, a beautiful young woman entered their village who introduces herself as Mikado. She told the villagers to give her one chance and promised them to get rid of the demons. She entered the forest alone, but the old man's grandfather was a young boy who was full of hormones and couldn't help himself but go after the older woman who went inside the forest, alone, risking his own life as well. When he reached the forest, he was shocked to see that the lady was standing in front of a bunch of monsters and forcing them back inside the boxes by using some special enchantment. The demons were screaming at her and vowing revenge, but she ended up closing them in separate boxes before using a large landmark to bury them. She then looked around and spotted the kid and walked up to him, telling him that she might not be around the next time they get released, so he should make sure that no one ever moves the keystone, otherwise the demons will be released and wreak havoc in this world. Ushio is speechless and looks at the old man as he tells him that last night the keystone was removed by the excavators and the demons have been released now. They will not stop till they have had their revenge on the person that captured them, Mikado. Ushio suddenly takes a closer look at the picture and realizes that the woman in the picture has an uncanny resemblance to Ino and is most probably her ancestor. The old man says that if it is so, then she's in grave danger, as the demons will definitely go after her. Ushio begs the man to help him and gets his car and drives him to the city. On the other end, Tora is doing a very bad job navigating around this modern world, as he keeps hitting glass walls everywhere, and he is unable to cope with the stench of modern perfume and can't eat other people, because everyone has something or the other on their body that is indigestible to Tora, such as a metal bracelet ring or earrings. He sulks around the entire city thinking that you will never be able to eat a human ever again, when suddenly he goes past Ino. He doesn't recognize her, but immediately stops and looks at her soft body. He realizes that she smells nice and doesn't have any earrings or piercings on her. He gets very excited as soon as he realizes that he can eat her. He prepares to jump on her, but suddenly stops because he realizes that there are other monsters around this place that are not him. He looks behind and spots a bunch of strange floating heads flying towards her. They take one look at her and immediately attack before Tora can react. Thankfully, Ushio arrives just in time and throws his spear at the heads, causing them to quickly move away. He then yells at Ino to run, but she is too dazed and confused to do anything. One of the heads tries attacking her again, but Ushio calls his spear back, forcing the head to move away. Ino quickly runs inside the mall, while Ushio stands in front to defend her. The heads try to chase her, but Ushio swings his spear at them. To his surprise, one of the heads grabs his spear with its teeth, and another uses its long hair to bind Ushio. Two more heads rush up to him and start biting, trying to kill him. However, Ushio is made of tough steel, and the heads cannot kill him, so they toss him into a car, injuring him before going after Ino again. Tora gets angry at the heads, as Ino is his prey, and tries to go after them. In his rage, he crashes through another glass window, becoming visible as he breaks it and enters the mall. He tries to find her, but suddenly spots her falling out of the higher floor, which was destroyed by the heads. She keeps slipping, however, and starts falling towards the head, who has his mouth already open, but Tora is incredible fast and grabs her before she could fall down. He takes her up on the roof of the building and tells her that she is her prey and only he will eat her. Suddenly, the heads come up on the roof as well and ask Tora who he was, but tell him that Ino was their prey, and if he comes in between, they will devour him as well. Tora simply looks at them and smiles, telling them to try their best. One of the heads rushes towards him, but Tora simply grabs him and smashes him into the ground, killing him instantly. The other heads are shocked at Tora's incredible strength, but tell them that they will eat the girl no matter what, and one of the heads uses his hair to bind Tora before telling the others to go after the girl, as he will take care of him. Ino starts running once again while Tora is bound by one of the heads and the others run after Ino. The head that captured Tora looks at him and mocks him for thinking that he could take on all the heads on its own, but Tora merely laughs at him, saying that how could the heads be stupid enough to think that they ever had a chance against him. He breaks through the hair and jumps at the head, biting half of it in a single go, killing it instantly. The heads chase the girl and finally catch up to her, injuring her a bit, but Tora arrives just in time, flaunting the half-eaten head in his hand and telling them to back off and not to touch and dirty the girl up. The heads are horrified to see another of their family member dead at Tora's hands and rush to bite him. Tora simply stands there grimacing and gives an eerie smile, mocking their futile efforts before he becomes Pikachu again and shocks the crap out of all of them, burning them to crisps and killing them in an instant. One of the heads, who is still somehow alive, tries to rush at Ino so he can at least kill her and take his revenge, but before he could touch her, Bushio arrives and stabs him in the head, killing it in an instant. Tora gets incredibly sad because now they won't be able to eat the girl and tries to quickly run away, but Bushio stops him and Tora immediately gets ready for a fight, but to his surprise, Bushio looks at him and apologizes for accusing him of killing the humans in the city. A huge smile erupts on Tora's face, and he starts trash-talking Bushio about how he's a numbskull who acts before thinking, and how his entire bloodline must be stupid. They start fighting again, but Ino stops their fight and gives Tora a burger because she heard he was hungry. Tora is completely dumbfounded at the stupid girl, as he can't believe she just offered a human-eating demon a burger. Bushio suddenly wakes up in the middle of the night, sensing something coming from the spear. He gets up just in time to dodge Tora's attack. He yells, demanding to know what the hell Tora thinks he's doing. Tora casually replies that he's doing what he's supposed to do, looking for an opportunity to devour him. Bushio gets mad and grabs his spear, intending to lightly hit Tora on the head, believing they had reached some kind of compromise. But Tora immediately dodges the attack and slashes at his face. Laughing, Tora tells Bushio that he only harbors hatred for him. When Tora tries to attack again, the spear automatically defends Bushio. Enraged, Bushio grabs the spear, transforms, and prepares to fight Tora. However, Tora quickly jumps out of the window and flies away, leaving Bushio fuming with anger. The next morning, Bushio sees that the claw marks on his face haven't disappeared because he was in his human form when Tora attacked. Furious, he vows to kill Tora the next time he sees him, convinced that a monster will always be a monster. While out for a walk, Bushio overhears a commotion and sees a man in black beating up two punks who were bullying a family. The man in black takes out his kumais and throws them with the intent to kill the punks. Bushio quickly jumps in between and blocks the kumais with his spear, asking the man if he's lost his mind, as these men will die if he does that. The man looks at Bushio and sees the shadow of a monster on him, which angers him, and he begins attacking Bushio. Bushio dodges his attacks, but gets caught up in a rope. The man is able to trip him down and steps on top of him, ready to kill him, when the spear automatically hurls itself towards the man, injuring him. The man immediately recognizes the beast's spear and calms down. He picks Bushio up and bows down to the ground, immediately saying that he was mistaken to attack a wielder of the beast's spear. Bushio tells him to get up as he has already forgiven him, and they start talking. The man introduces himself as Hugh, who has as a demon hunter, who roams around different places hunting for demons. He tells Bushio that he had a family, a wife and a daughter who he loved more than anything in this world, but once he had to go out for a business trip. And when he returned back at his home and called out to his wife, no one replied. He got scared, so he quickly opened the door, and suddenly a demon who looked like an animal jumped out and clawed at his face, leaving the deep scars that he carries till day. He says that he got a picture from the TV of a similar-looking demon that was spotted near an old school building where a bunch of schoolgirls were kidnapped, and he shows Bushio a picture of Tora. Bushio realizes that the monster that the man is looking for is not Tora, because Tora was sealed away for 500 years inside his basement and was released only a couple of weeks ago, so he can't possibly have killed the man's wife and kid. He was about to tell Hugh that the monster he is looking for isn't Tora, but stops in the middle and remembers how Tora attacked him in sleep. A wave of anger rushes inside him again, and he tells the man that the demon he is looking for is indeed Tora, and you should kill him as soon as possible. Bushio leaves the place and goes back to his home, while Hugh finds where Tora is hiding and engages him in a deadly combat. Bushio goes to school after that, but seems to be very lost in his own mind and doesn't seem to be himself. Naka and Ino both notice it, but he just brushes it off before leaving the conversation altogether. After school, Ushio started walking home and noticed that Naka was following him, but she didn't approach or talk to him. Suddenly, Naka, acting strangely, ran up to him, smacked him on the head with her bag, and told him to hit her back. She shouted that something was clearly bothering him, and he should clear his mind by punching her. If he didn't, she would keep hitting him. She told him that he wasn't someone who overthinks, but rather someone impulsive who makes rash decisions, and he shouldn't change that. Then she ran away. Surprisingly, her advice resonated with Bushio, and he set off to find Tora and Hugh. He found them in a park, both exhausted from fighting, but Hugh clearly had the upper hand as Tora lay on the ground, drained of energy. Just as Hugh was about to deliver the final blow, Bushio ran in front of Tora and told Hugh to stop. Confused, Hugh asked what he was doing, and Bushio finally admitted that he had lied to him. Hugh loses his mind and punches Ushio in the face, telling him that it can't possibly be true. He has traveled all around the globe to find this monster, and now he is saying that this isn't the one. Hugh tells Ushio that this has to be the one, and throws his kunes at Tora, but Ushio intercepts them in the middle with his spear. He tells Hugh that Tora is not the culprit, and then compares his scar to Hugh's scar, pointing out that Hugh's face has a 3-claw scar, whereas Ushio's face, which was slashed by Tora, has a 4-clawed scar. Hugh again punches Ushio down, and then starts punching him relentlessly in the face while he lies there helpless. Hugh gets up again and starts using a fire spell to set his kunes ablaze to kill Tora, but once again Ushio stands in the middle, refusing to give way. Hugh throws his kunes regardless, thinking that Ushio will dodge at the last second, but he doesn't. The kunes drive themselves deep into Ushio's body, and he launches himself forward and punches Hugh, telling him that if he kills Tora, it will be cold-blooded murder, and his dead daughter will be disappointed in him before getting completely knocked out. When Ushio wakes up again, he finds himself on a bench. Hugh tells him that he has provided him first aid, and his injuries should heal in time. He tells Ushio that he agrees that if he killed Tora, he would have been a murderer, and thanks him for stopping him. He then says that his search for his family's killer is still going on, and their paths might cross again, and if they do, he hopes they're on the same side, and then he leaves. That day, Ushio goes back to his house and sleeps without a worry. Tora looks at him and prepares to attack, but at the last moment he changes his mind and decides to have a burger instead for now. The summer vacation has finally started, and Ushio's dad has disappeared again to Netflix and chill somewhere. Now Ushio himself has decided to go on a small summer trip to a beach alongside Naka and Ino. He has decided to spend his time resting on the beach and playing in the water alongside 2 gorgeous girls. This man is max out Riz, I swear to God. Tora seems to be pretty happy to get out of that city life and spend some time in the sea, which hasn't changed in the past 500 years, unlike everything else. He decides to go for a leisurely job on the ocean's surface and disappears from Ushio's vision, who gets worried about his disappearance. Suddenly, he notices that a kid is throwing sand all over their things, and this angers Ushio, who runs out of the water and rushes at the kid before grabbing him by the neck. Naka runs after Bushio, telling him to leave the kid alone since he didn't do any harm. Bushio listens and backs off, but as soon as he leaves, the kid uses his water pistol to spray Naka before running away. They go back inside the house where Naka's relatives live to have some snacks. An old uncle tells them the kid's name is Tatsu, who used to be a nice boy. However, recently his mom went out to get milk and never came back, following in his dad's footsteps. This event ruined his childhood, causing him to act out and be a pain for everyone around. Meanwhile, Bushio wonders where Tora is. Tora, who aspires to be like Jesus, tries to run on water, but suddenly stops when he feels a disturbance beneath the ocean floor. A mysterious voice asks if he is Tora, the ancient king of demons who has been missing for the past 500 years. Tora demands the voice show itself before using his powers on the water. The voice pleads for him to stop and reveals itself as an old man, asking for help dealing with a powerful underwater demon that has been harassing everyone nearby and feeds on both demons and humans. Tora is initially indifferent, but when the old demon mentions the demon's immense strength, Tora becomes excited and agrees to fight it. Suddenly, a huge snake-like monster erupts from the sea, and even Tora is shocked by how big the snake is. He should see how big my snake is, and then he will get even more shocked. Tora tries to Pikachu the snake, but it is all in vain as the snake is slathered in oil, just like I slather my snake in oil sometimes. The snake tries to get Tora with its tail and Tora dodges, but to his surprise, the snake is extremely agile for its size and appears behind Tora before trying to eat him. Tora immediately lodges himself between his jaws and tries to stop the monster from closing its mouth, but fails as the snake decides to swallow him whole. At the last moment, however, the old spirit comes and grabs Tora, stopping the monster from closing its jaws, and Tora screams at him to find Ushio and bring him here, as he has the beast spear which can kill this monster. The old spirit refuses to leave Tora, so he is forced to Pikachu the spirit out of the monster's mouth and tells him to bring Ushio as soon as possible. Ushio, on the other hand, is walking around the beach again when he spotted the little shit roaming around and putting sand in people's bags again. This time Ushio runs up to him and gives him a good smack on the head, which he definitely deserves. Naka, however, stops him yet again and tells him that the kid is just a child and he will be fine, and runs after the kid, who is running away crying. Some time passes as Ushio is laying down on the beach when he suddenly senses that something is wrong. He runs past the beach when he starts hearing a mysterious voice coming from a beach shower. He stops nearby when the old spirit emerges from it and tells him that Tora is in trouble inside of the beast and is requesting assistance from it. Before he can reply, however, Ino runs up to him and tells him that Naka is in trouble. He runs back to the house where the old uncle is talking to Naka on the phone. Ushio grabs the phone from the old man and asks Naka what's wrong, who tells him that she was out on a boat with a little shithead when suddenly a giant snake monster swallowed both of them, and she is currently inside of the beast. Ushio tells her to stay calm as he is coming and rushes outside with his spear. He grabs a motorboat as the old spirit guides him deep into the sea, where he spots the giant snake. He picks up his spear and launches an attack on the snake, but his spear cannot pierce through the oiled-up elastic body of the monster, and he bounces back. He tried to stab it several times, but to no avail. He used another slash that injured the monster, and it threw Ushio into the air before swallowing the monster whole. He rushed inside the snake's body and found Tora holding both Naka and the child tightly while trying not to be eaten by another set of jaws. He stopped right in front of Tora, who saved both Naka and the boy from being eaten by the beast. He thanks Tora for saving them, but Tora's grip loosens and he begins to fall. Thankfully, Ushio stuck his spear inside the monster and held them all tight, but Naka was unconscious and preparing to flee. Ushio convinced the boy to hold Naka's hand so she wouldn't fall. However, a problem arises when Ushio loses his ability to hold his spear and begins to fall into the beast's jaws. Suddenly, the spear came to life and rushed past them, piercing the beast's eye. Tora, clinging to everyone, flies through the air as Ushio grabs the spear and tells Tora that they need to perform a combo attack. Tora begins to transform, while Ushio uses his spear to slash at the monster, allowing them to escape safely. The next day, they wait on the train platform as Naka asks Ushio if he was the one who saved her, since she doesn't remember anything after hitting her head. Ushio tells her that she must have imagined it, and that he just found her on the beach with the boy. That bastard also came to the station to tell them not to leave, but Ushio replied that they were just going to buy milk and would definitely come back. Ushio returned home, but a thought kept bothering him ever since he met that child on the beach. Ushio's mother died when he was very young, but he never asked about her, and his father never told him anything about her. He kept going to his father and started asking things about his mother. His dad seemed to be avoiding the subject, which caused them to have a small argument before he left to take a phone call. Just as he tried to check where his father was, he realized that he was trying to run away again. Both Ushio and Tora ran after him, and he ran away before they could catch up. That night, Ushio took Tora to visit his mother's grave and said that it was his first time coming here, and he didn't even know if she was buried here, or if it was just a lie his father told him. Create. They stayed there for a while before Tora told him he was hungry, and they went back to their place. Ushio sits down and begins using his giant spear as a weight to cook cup noodles, while Tora eats hot dogs. In the ensuing chaos, the cup falls over and he quickly starts cleaning his spear. Suddenly, his dad enters the room, notices that he has been using the spear for everyday tasks, like cutting open sausages, and gets mad at him before starting to worship the spear. He hands the spear back to Ushio, before telling him that they will talk about his mother after they are done with dinner. After the dinner, they sit around the veranda overlooking the rain when his dad simply throws an envelope full of money and tells him to keep it. Ushio gets enraged by it, thinking that his dad is telling him to forget about his mother by bribing him with money, and ends up punching his dad. His dad tells him that the money wasn't a bribe, and it was just for him to spend. As if he wants to know the truth about his mother, and whether she is alive or not, he has to go on a trip. He then wears a karate uniform, before telling Ushio that he is one of the demon hunters working for a religious cult that has been exterminating demons from the earth for thousands of years. Before Ushio can process this information, his father informs him that the cult leader has declared Tora a demon that must be exterminated. He plans to fight Tora while Ushio should leave to uncover the truth about his mother. Ushio, still reeling from the revelation, watches as Tora, always eager for a fight, agrees to the challenge. They head to the courtyard, where the standoff begins, and Ushio watches in despair, unsure of what to do as his father starts chanting spells to exterminate Tora. Tora, also tense, charges at the old monk, who counters with a shuriken. Ushio, desperate, yells for them to stop, but his pleas go unheard as they clash with full force, intending to kill. In a desperate move, Ushio runs between them, begging them to stop, only to be ignored and tossed aside. He tries again but is struck by a stray attack and thrown away. This time, angered, he grabs his spear, cuts his father's staff in half, and hits Tora on the head with the flat side of the spear. He then strikes at his father, who blocks the attack but is forced to retreat. Ushio declares that he cannot let his father kill Tora, as he can control him. His father smiles, revealing that he never intended to kill Tora. Instead, he wanted to see if Ushio was man enough to take control of the situation, and Ushio passed the test. He explains that his task was to determine whether Tora remained a mindless beast, or if Ushio had truly tamed him. If Ushio hadn't tamed him, his dad would have been forced to eliminate both of them. Suddenly, Ushio realizes that they are surrounded by a bunch of coded figures as his dad announces to them that he deems both Ushio and Tora not a threat, and that they can use their abilities to kill demons. The men, however, don't seem to take this news very kindly, and one of them jumps in to attack Tora. Ushio's father, however, jumps in and blocks the attack, while telling them to back off as it was his duty to evaluate the two alone. His father tells him to take the spear and Tora and find his mom, while the men start attacking his father. He thinks for a moment before standing his ground, saying that he will never leave his alone in a situation like this. They get into a big brawl in which one of the priests tries to seal Tora, but his unbelievable strength shocks the priest, as even after using the strongest sealing spell, Tora is able to walk towards him before punching him away. One of the priests captures his dad in Cage of Light, and Ushio tries to attack the priest, but gets hit by his staff and falls back to the ground unconscious. When he wakes up, he finds both Tora and his dad looking at him and telling him that they defeated all of the other priests and that Tora didn't kill anyone. Ushio tells his dad that he can't leave him at this stage, as those guys can come back for revenge. But his dad tells him to go and find his mom, as he can handle these men by himself easily. The next morning, Ushio packs up and leaves on a journey with Tora to find the secrets of his mom and where she is. Ushio reaches the airport with Tora, who has never seen a plane before, and is wildly excited to go near one. The concept of humans flying is unbelievable to him, and he seems too eager to see how these planes work. Ushio is simply sitting on the seat when he overhears a man talking to a girl apologizing for the death of her father and claiming that it was a demon that resulted in his death. The girl, however, gets mad at him and tells him that just because she is a kid doesn't mean that she will believe anything that comes out of his stupid mouth. Apparently her dad was a pilot, and on his last flight his plane ended up crashing after having a near collision with another jet which was being piloted by this man in the black suit who knew her dad. She blames him for killing her dad because of it. This interests Ushio, who asks Tora whether he knows any demons that are found in the air. Tora informs Ushio about a demon named Fusumu, who resides in the air and descends to the ground only to eat humans. However, if humans are already in the air, Fusumu has no need to come down. Tora mentions that he once fought Fusumu, describing him as a particularly tricky demon made entirely of jelly, making physical attacks ineffective. Even Tora's lightning attacks had no effect. Only large amounts of fire seemed to work against him. As they board the plane, Ushio follows a girl and sits next to her, striking up a conversation. When the flight starts and Ushio notices the girl looking scared, he grabs her hand without asking for permission, assuming it's okay. Though she seems startled, he tells her that he's also scared and suggests they face their fear together. Meanwhile, Tora enjoys watching the view from the window. After some time, the girl, whose name is Yu, falls asleep. A man in a black suit approaches, covers her with a blanket, and then sits beside Ushio. He tells Ushio that he might not believe him, but he has seen the monster. Ushio, having grown up in a religious household, assures him that he believes his story, no matter how strange it sounds. Suddenly, the man stands up, sensing a familiar pressure from the day he saw the monster. The plane starts shaking, and looking out the window, they spot a poorly rendered green snot monster engulfing the entire plane. The aircraft rapidly loses altitude when Tora approaches Ushio and urges him to get his spear ready. Ushio tells him that the spear is in the luggage compartment, but Ushio tells him that it is not a normal spear, and if he calls it, it will appear in his hands. Ushio focuses on the spear, and it rushes up through the floor into his hands. The suited man rushes towards the cockpit and busts the door open to see that there are no pilots there, so he quickly sits down and starts navigating the plane while asking for assistance from the Air Force. The Air Force, however, denies his requests as they don't see anything weird on the radar. Ushio tells Tora to get out of the plane and beat the crap out of Fusumu, but Tora claims that he is in no mood for a fight and is here just for a vacation. Bushiba starts chasing Tora before poking him from behind and forcing him to go on top of the plane to fight Fusumu. Tora begins his duel against the snot monster and uses his fiery breath to push him back a little, which was enough to let the pilot gain control of the flight again. Tora tries to fight against the snot monster, but his punches are of no use, and his fire is not enough to completely disintegrate the monster. Ushio runs into the cockpit and tells the pilot that they need a lot of fire to defeat this monster, but the pilot says that the Air Force are refusing to help as they can't see anything on the radar. Tora appears in front of them and tells Ushio that he will pin the monster down, and during that time, he needs to stab the monster through the roof, and he goes away. Ushio quickly goes inside the plane and waits around for Tora's signal, when suddenly Yu walks up to him and tells him that she wants to be a part of it. What a dumb woman. Ushio looks at her and agrees to it. What a dumb man. They both get in position as Tora is somehow able to pin the monster down before giving Ushio the signal, who thrusts the weapon through the roof of the plane, stabbing the monster, critically damaging him. The monster loses composure and ends up revealing itself on the radar, which results in the Air Force being called. They confirm the presence of this monster, but tell the pilot that the monster is too close to the plane, and if they fire missiles at it, the entire plane would crash. Ushio quickly runs up into the cockpit and tells Tora to take him on top of the plane, and they both decide to deal with this monster together. They run towards the monster, but are stopped when he grabs both of them in his snot-covered hands. Ushio, however, rakes through with the help of his spear, and alongside Tora is able to cut his limbs off, releasing the plane from its grasp. The Air Force decide that this is a good time to intervene and launches a missile at the monster, killing it immediately. The problems haven't subsided yet, as the pilot informs Ushio that the back landing gears have been broken and there is no way for a safe landing in these conditions. Ushio quickly instructs Tora to go outside and lift the plane, ensuring a safe landing. Once they disembark, they decide to go their separate ways. Ushio heads to a dressing room to try on some clothes, only to realize he's lost the money his dad gave him. Reflecting on this, he thinks if he were his dad, he'd go out for one last milk run. Tora, uninterested, asks why it matters whether they have money or not. But Ushio knows that in a world filled with capitalist American pigs, he believes in socialism. They decide to find a police station to file a complaint when suddenly, a group of people mysteriously receive cuts on their bodies. Confused, Ushio notices a small whirlwind in the corner. Tora warns him that it's not a dust devil, but a demon. Suddenly, a large dog-like creature attacks Ushio. His spear moves on its own to block the attack, but the creature continues to cut him, enraging him. Ushio transforms into his powerful form, breaks the demon's blade, slams it to the ground, and threatens to kill it. Suddenly, a voice from behind tells him to stop. He turns to see a beautiful lady in red spandex, begging him to spare the demon and hear them out. Tora explains that if they wanted to kill him, they could have, but they were testing if he had the beast's spear. They all board a train and travel to a small cottage deep in the mountains. There, the lady and Tora reveal themselves as siblings from an ancient race of demons and present a request to Ushio. Ushio seems to be confused, but they suddenly bow down to the ground and tell them that they want him to kill their brother Juro. He gets shocked at this statement and berates them for even thinking of killing their own blood, and that he is not some hitman that could be hired to kill demons on anyone's whims. He grabs his spear and tells Tora that they are leaving, but suddenly, one of the demons throws a severed hand in front of him, telling him that this belongs to a human from a nearby village who was killed by their brother Juro, and if Ushio doesn't stop him, he will keep killing even more humans. The woman takes Tora outside, whereas the guy starts giving Ushio some well-needed context. He tells him that their race of demons have been inhabiting hills and dense forests for centuries and have no ill feelings towards humans to begin with. They tend to just hide themselves and live in peace, but lately humans started invading their places. They started using a strategy in which they stay in a group of 3, and if a human comes near their area, one of them distracts him, while the other one delivers a small cut, and the third demon rushes to heal him with their special healing potion, and this all happens within a blink of an eye. The humans aren't harmed in any way, but this scares them away from the area, making them think that there are ghosts that haunt the area. He also tells him that among their race there is a law which states that they should need kill a human unprovoked or without any reason, but from some time now, Jiro has been disregarding their law completely and is on a rampage of killing humans left and right. He looks into Ushio's eye and very seriously asks him whether he would kill Jiro for them, as they can't bring themselves to harm their own brother. Just then Ushio's ears start ringing, and his spear starts acting on its own, and suddenly a wall is cut to shreds, and a young emo guy stand there calling the man his brother, and telling him that he's here to say his final goodbye, as he's going to go on his own from now on and kill his main humans as possible. The guy reminds Jiro that killing humans is against the law, but Jiro tells him that the humans started it as all they ever wanted was to live in peace uninterrupted, but it was humans who always invade their place and force them to leave their homes and find new ones every single time. But now he wishes to change it and is going to instill so much fear in humans that they won't even think of ever expanding their area. He tears off his human skin, declaring that he will never take human form again. He then senses the power of the legendary spear emanating from Ushio, becoming insanely angry. He yells at his siblings, demanding to know if they want him dead so badly that they would seek help from a human. As usual, Ushio, always angry, charges at him with the spear. However, Jiro swiftly uses a single slash of his blade to mortally wound Ushio, who falls to the ground motionless and unbreathing. The spear flies on its own to attack Jiro, but he blocks it just in time to deliver a final blow to Ushio. Suddenly, Tora hurls one of his severed arms through Jiro's chest, catching him off guard and stopping him in his tracks. Jiro turns to see Tora, who screams that Ushio is his prey and that no one else can kill him. Terrified of the enormous Pikachu-like figure, Jiro flees. Tora approaches Ushio, telling him they should leave for Hokkaido to find his mother, but realizes Ushio appears completely lifeless. He shakes him, furious that he has died so easily. Just then, a woman named Kagari appears and explains that injuries inflicted by demons of their kind can only be healed with a special medicine. She gives the medicine to Tora, who uses it on Ushio, saving his life. Ushio immediately wakes up with a gasp and tells Tora that Jiro has nothing but hate inside of him, and he will kill any human he sees if they leave him alone. He looks over to the siblings and asks them where Jiro is headed and starts running outside, but he suddenly notices that Tora seems to have lost one of his arms and gets worried for him, even crafting a cast for him to try and fix his arm. They all go outside and start running towards a construction site where Jiro is waiting for the new shift to begin so that he can kill all of the workers there. They reach an empty clearing and look around for Jiro, when suddenly Ushio is attacked by an angry Jiro who is furious that Kagari healed the human. Ushio dodges and both of Jiro's siblings try to stop him, but he is too strong and attacks them as well, pushing them back. Ushio runs up to him and jumps up in the air to attack him and is able to push through his spear, hitting Jiro and injuring him. Jiro immediately runs up a cliff and cuts the edge of the cliff, making a huge area crumble on top of Ushio and the others. Thankfully, Ushio was in his Chad form, and alongside Tora is able to hold the boulder, preventing them from getting crushed. Unfortunately, however, both of the siblings end up getting stuck beneath Truck Khan, which starts leaking oil, and they are unable to move. Ushio quickly screams at Tora to leave the boulder and help the siblings escape, as the oil can catch fire, which will result in an explosion. At first, Tora is reluctant to help them, but after Ushio pleads with him, he decides to help them and moves over to try and lift Truck Khan off of them before it ice caves them into another world. Jiro comes down to finish the job, but he notices that Ushio and Tora are helping his siblings, which changes his heart a little bit, and then Ushio spouts some moralistic bullshit, which I am not going to write down, but this ends up making Jiro reconsider his choices when suddenly the new shift. Workers arrive at the scene, and after having a look at Jiro think that he is some kind of an animal, and start throwing rocks at him. Jiro looks around and gets furious at them, swearing to kill them all, making them all run away, but one of the workers was smoking a cigarette, which ends up lighting Truck Khan's piss on fire. Jiro was about to go behind the humans when Tora screams at him to help them save his siblings, and after a moment's hesitation, Jiro runs towards Tora trying to lift Truck Khan. However, Truck Khan seems to be very OP and doesn't move at all, which makes Ushio scream for help. As cries for help fill the air, some construction workers rush toward the burning wreckage and help lift Truck Khan off the siblings, saving them. They all overlook the explosion, while Ushio thinks Jiro might have had a change of heart. Ushio pleads with Jiro to give humans another chance, promising to find them a place to live and keep the humans away. For a moment, Jiro seems moved, but then he suddenly lunges at Ushio. In self-defense, Ushio uses his spear to stab Juro in the heart, killing him instantly. Disturbed and physically hurt from the encounter, Ushio is led by the siblings to a secret hot spring with healing properties that can cure injuries and diseases. As they enjoy the hot bath, Ushio overhears a girl singing beautifully and goes to investigate. Startled, she runs away, leaving Ushio feeling ashamed for scaring her. Toru, however, senses something unusual about the girl and tells Ushio that he believes she is not a normal human. Ushio dismisses Toru's concerns, attributing them to caution around humans. Later, they head to town to catch a bus to Hokkaido. Suddenly, Ushio notices the same girl walking near the pavement, almost getting hit by a truck. Ushio saves her just in time by pushing her out of the way. The girl seems to have gotten unconscious, and one of the ladies of a nearby store tells him that this girl's name is Saya, and she belongs to the household of the richest landlord of this town before pointing over to a giant mansion on top of the hills. Ushio decides to put Saya on his back and starts taking her up the hill. Toru calls him a giant sissy simp because the only reason he is doing this is because he likes the girl, but like every simp in the world, Ushio has gone down a giant hole of degeneracy from which he can never recover. While carrying her up, she wakes up and apologizes for troubling him, but tells him that she was trying to find him in the town. This surprises Ushio as he is actually meeting her for the first time. She tells him that she can walk, but as Ushio puts her down, she turns around and spots Toru in front of her. She gets a little taken aback, and this surprises both Ushio and Toru as not everyone can see demons unless and until they decide to reveal themselves. She reveals that she comes from a long line of people who have worked to bridge the communication gap between humans and demons and are trying to stop the conflict between humans and demons, as they believe that if only humans and demons could communicate, they could live more peacefully together. She tries walking but starts stumbling again due to dizziness, which makes Ushio carry her again as he runs up the hill to her house. He enters her place and sits down in a room with her, when suddenly her father and her grandmother enter the room and seem to be angry. He screams at her for going out of the house when she knows that she is an invalid and can't operate on her own. He also starts chastising her, telling her that she is only good for causing trouble and should simply stay locked up in the house like an animal because that's what she deserves. This enrages Ushio, who starts talking back to her father, telling him that he is fat and ugly. The dad gets angry too, and just when it seems like they might get into a physical fight, Saya steps in and begs her father to give her 30 minutes to talk to Ushio. She promises she won't go out again if he agrees, and he reluctantly leaves. Ushio, still furious, asks Saya how she can tolerate such abuse. She starts talking about patriarchy, but Ushio interrupts, telling her to cut to the chase and explain why she's brought him here. Saya reveals that centuries ago, one of her father's ancestors captured a god and trapped her in their house using a series of spells. This god is known for bringing great prosperity, so their ancestors imprisoned her to continually receive her blessings. Ushio sarcastically calls it a pro-gamer move. Saya continues, explaining that her mother's bloodline is frail, with many women suffering from various ailments. When she was a child, her mother was on her deathbed and told Saya that she must keep communicating with the goddess to prevent her from growing weary or sad. Saya then opens a door, revealing a room filled with charms and spells. Inside, a Chinese-looking girl sits on the floor. Saya approaches and sits beside her. The girl asks if Ushio is the boy with the beast spear. She then acknowledges Tora, noting that she recognizes him. She is puzzled as to why he is traveling with a human, given that he is supposed to be the feared king of demons. Tora tells her that it is a long story, and he isn't going to waste his time talking to her. He asks her what she wants from them. She tells them that she wants them to destroy the barrier that is keeping her in place. She tells Ushio that this barrier is made up of extremely strong enchantments, and the only way to break it is by using the beast spear, which is attached to a user that it recognizes. Tora looks at her and asks her whether she knows what will happen if the barrier breaks, and she replies that she does. Both Ushio and Saya seem confused, so Tora elaborates by saying that once the barrier is broken, a huge amount of energy will be released all at once, which will most probably destroy the guy for good. Saya is shocked by this news and tells them that she had no idea about it. The Chinese girl tells her that this is good for the both of them, but Saya refuses to agree to this. Suddenly, Saya's dad enters the room, realizing what they were doing, and immediately attacks Ushio, who blocks the attack with a spear. The man attacks him again, but this time he simply moves out of way before spanking him, which is very kinky. Ushio goes on the offensive now, while the man tries to defend against his attacks. Tora decides to try and Pikachu the barrier, but it doesn't work. The Chinese girl begs Ushio once again to destroy the barrier, and this time Ushio pushes the man away before running towards the barrier. Surprisingly, however, he is stopped when Saya stands in front of him and tells him that she cannot let him destroy the barrier as it will kill the Chinese girl. Before Ushio can decide what to do, the bodyguards of the household rush Ushio and grab him. While the man tries to kill him using his sword, but Tora comes to the rescue, snapping the sword in half before pushing himself through the barrier while trying to put a layer of electricity around him to try and protect him from the barrier. He gets halfway inside the barrier and screams at Ushio to destroy it while he protects the Chinese girl, but Ushio, the giant simp, tells him that this is Saya's decision. Tora tells him to become a white knight later as he is getting hurt, but Ushio is steadfast and tells him that only Saya can make a decision. Saya is quite indecisive, still contemplating what to do even though Tora had assured her he would protect the Chinese girl from the explosion. Ultimately, Ushio decides to break the seal and slices the charm in half, releasing the god. As soon as he does this, a huge explosion occurs. Tora protects the god, while Ushio shields Saya. When the dust settles, they see that the entire house has been demolished, but the god has safely ascended back to the heavens where she belongs. Afterwards, Ushio and Tora have one last conversation with Saya before continuing their journey. Saya tells Ushio that she will be strong from now on and take control of her destiny. Given her anemia and heart problems, this seems unrealistic. Ushio and Tora decide to stay with the doggy siblings for another night after missing their bus because of Saya. Later that night, Ushio goes outside near the pond to relax. As he gazes at the calm black water, it suddenly starts vibrating, revealing a vision of Naka holding a mirror and crying out Ino's name repeatedly with a horrified expression. Before Ushio could even register what was going on, the vision disappeared from the surface of the pond, leaving him completely bewildered. He rushes inside the room, totally shaken, and asks Tora if he knows about any mirrored demons before telling him what he just saw. Tora says that he doesn't have any idea about this, but the doggy siblings tell him that they know a demon who is an expert in mirrors, and they can take him up to the demon. Ushio immediately agrees, and even Tora follows soon as they climb through a dangerous mountain before reaching a dark cave. The siblings call upon the demon and identify themselves, claiming that they have come here in peace. They run towards the monster, but are stopped when he grabs both of them in his snot-covered hands. Ushio, however, rakes through with the help of his spear, and alongside Tora is able to cut his limbs off, releasing the plane from its grasp. The Air Force decide that this is a good time to intervene and launches a missile at the monster, killing it immediately. The problems haven't subsided yet, as the pilot informs Ushio that the back landing gears have been broken, and there is no way for a safe landing in these conditions. Ushio quickly instructs Tora to go outside and lift the plane, ensuring a safe landing. Once they disembark, they decide to go their separate ways. Ushio heads to a dressing room to try on some clothes, only to realize he's lost the money his dad gave him. Reflecting on this, he thinks if he were his dad, he'd go out for one last milk run. Tora, uninterested, asks why it matters whether they have money or not. But Ushio knows that in a world filled with capitalist American pigs, he believes in socialism. They decide to find a police station to file a complaint when suddenly, a group of people mysteriously receive cuts on their bodies. Confused, Ushio notices a small whirlwind in the corner. Tora warns him that it's not a dust devil, but a demon. Suddenly, a large dog-like creature attacks Ushio. His spear moves on its own to block the attack, but the creature continues to cut him, enraging him. Ushio transforms into his powerful form, breaks the demon's blade, slams it to the ground, and threatens to kill it. Suddenly, a voice from behind tells him to stop. He turns to see a beautiful lady in red spandex, begging him to spare the demon and hear them out. Bewildered Naka where the mirror is. As soon as she tells them, they jump inside the mirror, and Naka, in her confusion, jumps in after them, feeling like an unwanted tag-along. They find themselves inside the belly of the beast, surrounded by beautiful clouds, where they finally spot the monster, who still has Ino with him. Enraged, Tora and Ushio rush towards the monster at full speed. In defense, the monster throws a swarm of creepy-looking leeches at them. The leeches latch onto Tora, but he manages to shake them off with his strength before flying towards the monster. They charge at the monster, and with a single attack, Ushio slices the monster in half, killing it instantly. He grabs Ino and they rush out of the mirror. The strain of the adventure causes both Naka and Ino to pass out. Tora and Ushio carry them out and lay them down gently on the floor before departing mercifully. Ushio and Tora say their final goodbyes to the doggy siblings before heading to the bus stop. Ushio suggests Tora carry him and leap from one bus stop to the next, but Tora wants to ride the bus as he has never done it before. They board the bus, and Tora is overjoyed, playing around and having fun. However, within 5 minutes he grows bored and starts pestering Ushio, asking him to make the bus go faster. Suddenly, Tora falls silent. Ushio, concerned, asks if something is wrong. Tora simply tells him to focus, and suddenly the spears start ringing wildly. Tora tells him that he can feel a bunch of demons in this area, and all of them seem to have an agenda against him and are extremely angry. Ushio gets surprised and asks Tora why they would hate him, but Tora replies that he has killed several monsters, and maybe that's why they are mad. The bus keeps moving and Tora senses even more demons, and all of them are brimming with hate for Ushio. Suddenly, a flying squirrel-like demon breaks through the front glass of the bus and hits the driver in the head, killing him immediately before making a beeline for Ushio, who immediately takes out his spear and dodges the attack. The bus gets out of control and hits the side rail before starting to fall off the cliff. The demon comes in again with an attack, but this time Ushio slices the demon in half and lands on the ground above alongside Tora as he looks down below at how bus can icecade so many people at once. Before they can figure out what's going on, hundreds of monsters start coming out from the side of the road, cornering both Ushio and Tora. They start fighting their way through the monsters, killing them one at a time, but still they are way too much for them to handle. Tora seems to be completely fired up and tells Ushio that he hasn't fought against this many opponents in a long while. Ushio, however, is scared that the battle will result in more human casualties, so he tells Tora that they need to take the battle into the forests. They rush inside the dense vegetation and keep running when suddenly, a demon appears from beneath the ground and grabs Ushio's leg, telling him that he will kill both him and his mother. Suddenly, hundreds of monsters appear again around them and start attacking him. Tora tries to save him, but is stopped by a giant white ape-looking idiot monster. He makes fun of Tora for trying to save a human before calling him pathetic. Just when things seemed like they were going south, the spear gets a life of its own and cuts through the demons before dragging Ushio outside of the jungle and only stopping once they were near a lake. He is still super confused as to what just happened, when the spidey senses of his spear start tingling again and he gets defensive again. He shouts at the monster to reveal itself, when a meek voice pleads for mercy, insisting it means no harm. Ushio commands it to show itself, and the monster emerges from the water. It's a kappa, a typically harmless creature, known for playing pranks on humans. The kappa approaches the injured Ushio, who asks why the monsters are trying to kill him, and if it's because he killed their kin. The kappa, surprised by Ushio's ignorance, explains that the monsters are after him because of his mother. Ushio is famous among all the demons in Japan as the son of the woman who saved the most dangerous monster of all time. The kappa reveals that thousands of years ago, a young girl arrived from China on a ship. However, this girl was actually a demon called Hakumen in disguise. Hakumen was the oldest and most powerful demon, so strong that no one could touch him. He believed all other demons were inferior and unworthy of life, leading him to start killing them. In response, all the demons united and waged war against Hakumen, but he was too powerful and slaughtered many of them. Later, Tora also joined the battle from their side, and after a lot of struggle, they were finally able to push Hakumen back, who swore that he would come back more powerful than ever and kill every single one of them. He starts applying lube on Ushio's body for some reason, and continues that the demons then wanted to give chase and finish him off while he was in a weakened state. But Tora had no such interest and returned to his area, where later he fought against an ancestor of Ushio and got pinned to the wall. The other demons who gave chase to Hakumen were finally able to locate him and try their very best to kill him by attacking all at once. But they were unable to even lay a scratch on the demon because he was being protected by a very strong barrier, which was created by Ushio's mother. That is the reason why they weren't able to kill the evil Hakumen and now harbored deep hatred towards Ushio and his mother. Suddenly, Ushio senses a bunch of demons coming towards him and gets on edge again, but Kappa tells him to quickly run towards the village as the demons won't enter that area. He thanks Kappa for the unwarranted massage and says that he will return for his happy ending before running away in the distance. He runs inside of the forest once again and is immediately surrounded by a bunch of demons. He tries to defend himself, but he cannot fight against such an overwhelming army alone. Suddenly, he hears a scream and notices an old guy inside the forest, so he quickly grabs him, putting him on his back before running away immediately. He asks the old man for the directions of the village, and the old guy points him in direction through the forest, where he keeps running to suddenly see a bunch of small lights in the distance. Relieved that safety is finally in sight, Ushio runs with the old man and finally reaches the village, where he is taken to the shop of an old woman who gives him a bunch of milk and some food to eat as he looks famished. Ushio eats happily while talking to the old man, who explains that he was shocked to see so many monsters, while the old lady comments that it is even hard to imagine that these monsters exist today. The old man starts asking Ushio questions about him, as he seems to be fascinated by his powers. Ushio pauses for a bit, thinking about the best way to introduce the story without sounding like a total lunatic, and tells him since the start about how he took the spear out of Tora, and ever since that day he has been fighting against these demons non-stop. The old man looks at him with an understanding gaze when Ushio gives him a cream bun, telling him that he hasn't eaten anything. After talking to him for a while, he decides to leave. Suddenly, outside, his spear starts reacting wildly, alerting him to the presence of demons. He shouts at the old man to get inside the house quickly. Before the old man can react, hundreds of demons appear out of nowhere, surrounding them. He defends the old man as a giant demon grabs him from behind. He manages to break free by slashing the demon, then runs as fast as possible, yelling at people outside to go inside and protect themselves. One of the giant demon snakes attempts to kill a woman and her child, but Ushio slices through it and continues his dash. He finally reaches an abandoned area and turns to face the demons. A giant dinosaur-like demon attacks him, but Ushio blocks the attack and kills it with a single slash. The demons gang up on him, attacking from all directions and injuring him severely, to the point where he struggles to stand. He falls to the ground, looking up to see a monster about to strike. Feeling powerless, he accepts his fate. At the last moment, the doggy siblings come to his rescue, slashing through the nearby demons and standing protectively in front of him. Ushio sees that they are already hurt from fighting the demons and urges them to run away. However, they tell him they owe him their lives and refuse to leave his side. They rush towards the monsters again, killing a bunch of them all at once, but suddenly a massive demon arrives on the scene and hits Katagiri with its club, hurting her. The giant unicorn monster threatens the sibling to stop defending Ushio if they know what's best for them, and sends a bunch of small worm-like monsters on Ushio, but he is able to slash through them all with a bit of reserved courage. They stand back to back while Katagiri asks Ushio where Tora is, to which he replies that he must have sided with the demons and left him for dead. Katagiri, however, refuses to believe this and clings on to the hope that he will show himself saving them all. The unicorn monster breaks through the brother's blade and hurts him before trying to strike a deal with the doggy siblings, telling them that if they kill Ushio for him, he will let them live. Hoshio tells them to take the offer, as he is not going to make it out of this alive anyway. But the siblings tell him once again that they will die before he leaves his side, and they run at the army of the demons on one last suicide charge. When suddenly, lightning strikes and every demon around an area is instantly killed, and to everyone's surprise, Tor emerges and grabs all three of them, before telling the unicorn monster that Ushio is his food, and no one else can touch him, before leaping in the air and landing somewhere deep in the forest. Ushio gets off and turns around to thank Tora, but suddenly both Tora and the doggy siblings disappear in the mist as the night mysteriously turns into a day, and when he turns around he spots a massive mansion in front of him that calls his name. The doors open on their own as the mysterious voice tells him to march inside. He is shocked to see such a big mansion and a little scared as well, but he puts on his big boy shoes and keeps walking until he enters a room to see the Chinese girl sitting alongside a weird old dude with a limp nose who might need some performance enhancement pills. He walks towards the Chinese girl, surprised to see her here, and asks what is going on. It is revealed that the old guy here is the leader of the monsters in this area, and he wants to strike a deal with Ushio. He tells him the same story about why the monsters are trying to kill him, because a woman protects the legendary monster Hakumen, who is a silver-colored nine-tailed beast. He explains that humans cannot live for such a long time, so the responsibility of protecting Hakumen has been passed down through generations of women in the bloodline. Currently, Ushio's mother holds this duty. After talking to Ushio, he realized that humans are not entirely irrational, and that there must be a reason why this woman is defending a monster. Ushio interrupts, saying this is their first conversation, but the old man reveals that he was the old villager Ushio saved in the forest, disguised to observe Ushio's true nature. The old man states that they want to understand why Ushio's mother is protecting the monster, and that they will let Ushio see her if he agrees to gather information for them. Ushio agrees, and the old man sends a command to all the demons, declaring that Ushio is off limits and should not be attacked until further notice. This causes unrest among the monsters. They all go outside to see Tora and the Dabi siblings facing off against the entire demon army. The old man reiterates his orders, but the unicorn monster refuses, arguing that Tora and Ushio have killed many of their brethren. Tora mocks the unicorn, who then challenges Tora to a one-on-one battle. Tora eagerly accepts, and the old man sets the terms. If Tora wins, the demons must follow his orders and not attack Ushio. If he loses, they can disobey. The battle begins, and the unicorn immediately slams Tora into the ground, battering him with his club and sending a swarm of hand snakes to bite him all over. Ushio grows worried as Tora is drawn closer to the monster, which then uses its horns to stab Tora through the stomach. Suddenly, however, the tides of the battle turn as Tora grabs his club and chastises him for being weak, then blames it on a human before becoming a Trizid and using his Flamen-Warfer to completely burn the unicorn, and then immediately jumps up in the sky and Pikachus the shit out of the monster, turning him black. He is not done though, as he then starts battering the monster, punching him again and again before delivering one final punch, defeating the monster. The duel ends as the old guy tells the monsters not to attack Ushio anymore, and both he and Tora leave into the forest to continue their journey of finding Ushio's mom. The next day they finally reach Hokkaido and start walking towards the town when they are suddenly covered in mist and seem to have lost the direction they were supposed to walk in. Tora blames it on Ushio, saying that he had one job, which is totally fair to be honest. While walking, however, they suddenly feel the presence of some demons, and a weird, creepy-looking spider demon attacks Ushio. He is able to block the attack, but before he could do anything else, a mysterious girl appears out of his ass and uses her comms to kill the monster in a single hit. Now that's what I call women power. The girl looks at him and tells him that it was one of the monsters set free by Hakumen, before asking whether he is named Ushio. She looks at him and scoffs at him for being a child, saying that she can't believe the beast's spear is being handled by a worthless child. Ushio tries to say that he isn't a child, but he gets bitch slapped mid-sentence, and the woman starts telling him that she belongs to the secret society that kills these demons, and she has been trained since she was a child to be the successor to the beast's spear, only to be stopped in her tracks because of Ushio. She looks at Ushio and tells him to hand over the spear because he is not fit enough to wield it. Ushio seems shaken by this, but she starts unloading a barrage of insults at him, making him feel small and weak. She told him that it was his fault that the people got ice-caved by Buskun, and it was his fault that Juro died, and everything that has happened to him and the people around him is purely because of him being unable to draw the full power of his spear, failing at every turn. This truly hollows Ushio out, who starts thinking about the past and how he has failed so many people. The girl moves her hand and grabs Ushio's spear. Ushio doesn't even try to stop her and lets her take his spear. She boasts that now, with the spear, she will be unstoppable and will kill every demon serving Hakumen. She disappears into the mist, telling Ushio to go back home. Ushio starts brooding, but for Tora, it's the best day of his life. Tora has been waiting for Ushio to be without his spear so he can kill him. Finally, the moment has arrived. He leaps at Ushio, but stops when he sees him in a deep, brooding mood. Instead of attacking, Tora tries to cheer him up. Suddenly, they notice a swarm of creepy leech monsters flying above them. Instead of attacking them, the monsters head towards the girl with the spear. Worried for her safety, Ushio decides to follow her. The spear has rejected the girl, and she is trapped, unable to move, in the grasp of the monsters. Just as the monsters are about to kill her, Ushio rushes in, grabs his spear, and attacks the monsters, causing them to drop the girl. She is shocked to see Ushio, now looking strong and confident with long hair, and seems impressed by his transformation. Ushio grabs the spear and rushes towards the demon at full speed, slicing through all of its tentacles before trying to end the fight, but is stopped when the monster hits him and throws him back. Ushio gets up again and jumps at the monster, but is stopped mid-track when the monster uses its leech monsters to grab the poor girl, laughing in Ushio's face, claiming that he has learned that these tactics are very efficient against humans. Ushio looks behind and jumps in the air before throwing his spear at the girl, shocking even the monster, as he didn't expect him to be so ruthless. The spear sets the girl free, but the monster grabs Ushio and starts squeezing him to death. Tora arrives at the last moment, however, and jumps at the monster with amazing anger, and tears his arms off before biting the monster in the face, freeing Ushio. He quickly calls for his spear and rushes at the monster, slashing it in half, killing it immediately. He grabs the girl's comb from the ground and hands it back over to him, showing her the comb that belongs to her mother. He looks at the girl and asks her whether he could keep the spear for a bit longer till he finds his mother, and the girl, like a classic sun deer, tells him that she isn't impressed and will let him keep the spear for just a bit longer, and warns him that there are 3 other people like her who were trained to be the successor of the beast's spear and might come for him. Ushio thanks her and then finally finds his way into a restaurant where he has a hearty breakfast alongside Tora, and finally comes outside to get a bus and try to find his mother. While outside, he starts thinking about whether he is good enough for the spear, but then Tora starts making fun of him, and they have some friendly banter when he trips and hits his head on a motorcycle. How do you not hear a motorcycle just come up behind him? Hell and Keller alert. He looks behind him to see a dashing dude on a pretty-looking motorcycle. The dude says some weird foreshadowy things, but Ushio is too engrossed acting like he just snorted a bunch of crack and doesn't really pay attention before the dude asks him whether he would like to ride him. Ushio is asked if he wants to ride his bike. Feeling uneasy, Ushio declines and heads to the bus stop. On the way, Tora senses a strange gaze and turns to see a man staring at him from afar. Annoyed, Tora rushes back to confront the stranger, leaving Ushio behind. He demands to know if the man is after the beast spear. Ushio calls for Tora, saying he will leave without him, but Tora ignores him. The stranger introduces himself as Akiba, one of the chosen successors for the spear, but claims he is more interested in Tora than the spear. Unmoved, Tora attacks Akiba, and they engage in a fierce brawl, equally matched. Akiba repeatedly strikes Tora with his staff. When Tora tries to electrify Akiba, the staff, made of a strange metal, redirects the electricity back at Tora. Tora then attempts to breathe fire, but Akiba dodges and hits him on the head, pinning Tora's arms to the wall with a spike. Tora struggles but can't escape. Akiba explains that the metal is designed to seal demon powers. He asks Tora why he is with Ushio, stating that Tora, a demon born 2,000 years ago in China, who can breathe fire and control electricity, is one of the strongest demons and loves terrorizing humans. Why then is he following a human's commands and becoming his pet? Tora snaps at him, telling him to shut up, but Akiba blocks his attack and jumps back, trying to make Tora his ally. He reveals that they've been tracking Tora since he escaped the basement and are surprised to see him saving both humans and demons. Tora starts laughing and claims that he simply stays with Ushio without killing him because he doesn't get bored when he is with him. To Akiba's horror, Tora starts ripping his hands and feet from his body and jumps at him for an attack. He dodges the attack, but then Tora decides to show how creepy he can be and becomes a goddamn spider, chasing Akiba around who tries to come in for a final hit, but is headbutted by Tora, defeating him immediately. Tora then joins his limbs back to his body and spares Akiba's life, telling him not to look at him or Ushio again before deciding to follow Ushio. Ushio, on the other hand, is inside a bus which got possessed by some leech demons who are now controlling the bus as it goes out of control. It seems like Busgun is going to rack up a good body count this season. Ushio quickly gets up from his seat and rushes towards the driver only to find him completely swarmed by the leech monsters. He uses his spear to slice the driver free, but this just results in the entire bus being in the sole control of these monsters. The bus starts swerving into the guardrail, so Ushio breaks through one of the windows, considering jumping out to save himself, but the bus is going too fast, and he can't simply leave all these people inside. Buscan immediately starts icing a bunch of cars into another world while he stands there helpless, unable to think of a way to save all the people when suddenly he hears the voice of Akiba from outside calling his name, and he sticks his head out of the window to find Tora and Akiba following them closely. Tora tells Ushio to simply jump out of the vehicle, but Ushio refuses, saying that there are a lot of people in here. Akiba and Tora hatch a plan, and he tells Ushio to grab all the passengers from their seats and make them stand in the center. He turns around and screams at everyone to get up from their seats, and they all assemble in the center when the leech monsters erupt again and get stuck to Ushio, pinning him down so that he is unable to use his spear. Meanwhile, Akiba slashes through the backside of the bus before using it to slash the front end as well, and then he signals Tora to take over, who uses his energy to blast all the passengers except Ushio out of the bus. A bunch of leeches get stuck to Akiba, but he is able to use his special technique to create an energy blanket for them, and all the passengers fall onto it without him to scratch. The problem is that the bus is still moving towards the passengers on the road, while Ushio is pinned down and unable to hit the brake. Akiba starts panicking, but Tora tells him to calm down because he trusts Ushio. Suddenly, Ushio finds his strength and slashes through the entire bus before stabbing his spear into Buskun's heart, using it to stop the bus just in time to save the passengers. He gets off the bus, relieved that everyone is safe, but then notices some of the passengers are injured. Saddened and blaming himself for their injuries, he runs away in distress. Akiba and Tora chase after him, and Tora reveals that Akiba is another successor to the spear. Akiba tells Ushio to stop looking so upset and assures him he'll take him where he needs to go. Ushio gets on the bike, and they all head to their destination. On the way, a group of bikers in black overalls starts following them, forcing them to pull over. Ushio asks Akiba if he knows these people, and Akiba explains that they are the ones who failed to become candidates for wielding the spear. One of the girls removes her helmet, introduces herself as June, and tells Akiba that her brother is still missing. Ushio seems confused, so Akiba tells him that June's older brother is one of the potential successors for the spear and is the best of all four of them. His name is Satoru, and he has mastered both the spiritual and the martial arts, making him stronger than any of the other candidates. June claims that her brother started acting weirdly ever since he heard the news of the beast spear and has disappeared completely recently with no contact. Suddenly, Kiora feels someone coming this way whom he claims to be a pretty strong human. Suddenly, a purple monster comes out of the ground straight at Ushio, who blocks the attack with his spear. As the dust settles, a man with yellow hair and an overflowing white robe emerges, who seems to be controlling the demon. He introduces himself as Satoru, the real successor of the beast spear, and sends his monster to attack Ushio again. Ushio jumps in for an attack as well, but he gets deep-throated immediately by the monster, who starts sucking him off. Akiba tells Satoru to stop before getting out his staff and attacking him, but Satoru is very strong and very quick as he immediately blocks his attack and knees him in the stomach. The other bikers quickly decide to attack Satoru, even though Akiba tells them they are no match, and are immediately deep-throated by the same monster. Ushio feels totally helpless as he sees the other guys on the brink of death, but as usual, MVP Tora arrives for the save and uses a single slash to set him free. Ushio quickly transforms into his chat form and rushes at the monster, slashing through it and setting the other guys free from his grip. He then sets his sights on Satoru himself, but Jum comes to his defense and stands in front of her brother, telling them to chill out. Satoru, however, is a misogynist and slaps her sister for speaking out of turn and for being a woman before something happens to him, and he starts losing control of himself and seems to be in immense pain. He tells them that he will deal with Ushio soon and disappears into the forest. Tora looks at them and tells them that Satoru is definitely infested by those leech monsters, and they seem to have taken control of his brain. This prompts Ushio to ask Tora, but there is any way of removing the monsters from his head, but Tora tells him that he couldn't care less for any other human. They all start moving again, and Ushio stops at a gas station and rushes inside the washroom before staring at the mirror like some drug-addled teen and starting screaming for the mirror monster that he met with the doggy siblings. The monster appears and asks Ushio what he wants, and Ushio explains the situation. Tora threatens him in a light-hearted manner, which scares the living daylights out of the mirror boy, and he quickly connects them with the leader of the monsters, who tells Ushio that the only way to get rid of them is to become an apparition and go inside him to kill them all. With the help of the spear, he might be able to achieve this, but it's uncertain if he'll return to his normal form. Afterward, they all continue down the road and set up a camp nearby, sitting around a campfire. Akiba tells Ushio that when they were young, June was once attacked by a tree monster. Even though he was scared, Satoru killed the monster with a single punch. However, instead of thanking him, June was terrified and never expressed her gratitude. Ushio, unimpressed, asks why this story matters when suddenly a black hole opens in the air, releasing a swarm of bug monsters and Akiba. Akiba attacks both Ushio and Tora with magic chains, binding Tora and disarming Ushio. He sends his bug monsters to attack Ushio, while June tries to appeal to Satoru's humanity. Satoru punches her aside, but she bravely grabs him again, telling him she won't leave him. This gives Ushio and Tora enough time to break free from the chains. Ushio slices through the monsters, while Tora obliterates them with electricity. Satoru starts to lose control and pulls out a knife, intending to stab his sister. Just in time, Ushio throws his spear, knocking the knife from Satoru's hand. As Tora regains consciousness, he is horrified to see what is happening. Desperate, Satoru backs away to the edge of the road and, realizing there is no escape, jumps into the valley. Ushio rushes to the edge and throws his spear, pinning Satoru against the cliffside. The others pick him up, but Satoru appears to be unconscious. They all surround the unconscious Satoru, while June cries over him as if he were dead. Chill Lady is just unconscious. Ushio, however, is as simp as we already know and starts telling Akiba that he is going inside Satoru's body and will definitely get rid of the monster inside of him. Akiba tries to stop him, telling him that he might never be able to return from this battle, but Ushio is thinking from the wrong head right now and doesn't care about all that. Akiba gets mad and grabs his staff, telling Ushio that he will beat him up if he tries to go inside, and goes on to attack Ushio, but stops at the last moment after seeing Ushio standing defiantly. He gets pissed off and then leaves Ushio to do whatever the hell he wants to do. Ushio peeks inside of the bike's mirror and calls upon the mirror monster again, who warns him again that he will lose his humanity if he goes inside another person's body, but Ushio is fine with that. As a token of goodwill, the mirror monster sends another small furry monster named Izuna to help Ushio out when he is inside of the body and to act as a guide. The monster doesn't seem to like humans very well, but one encounter with Tora scares him straight. Ushio tells Tora that he is sorry if he loses his humanity as Tora wanted to eek him, but Tora claims that he will go inside with him and eek him if he starts changing into something inhuman. The three of them rush towards the lying body of Satoru and jump inside while Ushio tells Gem to grab Satoru's body as he might start moving. They all go inside of his body where everything is dark at first, but then he opens his eyes to see the inside of a human's body, which is very jarring for him to see nonetheless. Izuna tells them to follow him closely and not get lost before they realize that a horde of monsters is coming towards them. Ushio, determined and relentless, charges forward with Tora, decimating the monsters in their path. They keep running until Izuna guides them to the heart. Suddenly, the corrupted blood vessels ensnare Izuna, and soon both Tora and Ushio are captured as well. Tired of the struggle, Tora decides to use his lightning attack despite Izuna's warnings that it might harm Satoru's body. It's too late. Tora's attack causes Satoru to thrash around. Ushio urges Tora not to use the attack again. His spear, acting on its own, rushes at the monster and stabs it, causing it to release them. Ushio then forces the monster out of Satoru's body, but this effort takes a toll on him, causing him to lose control momentarily. Tora, concerned, watches as Ushio manages to regain his composure and urges them to keep moving. They dash up the spinal cord and encounter a massive horde of flying leech-like creatures. Ushio cuts through many of them, but eventually gets caught. Just when all seems lost, Jun's cries over Satoru's body weaken the demon inside, allowing Ushio to escape and continue fighting off the creatures. As he runs, black tendrils begin to emerge from his body, indicating the beast spear's attempt to take control. Izuna and Tora watch in alarm, but Ushio manages to maintain control. They press on towards the brain when the boss monster appears and attacks. Ushio prepares for the final battle, engaging the boss in a fierce melee. The fight is intense, and Ushio quickly realizes that this monster is formidable and will not be easily defeated. The monster decides to try and intimidate Ushio, and shows him how Hakumen looks, and just his unbelievably terrifying aura was scary enough that he kneels down and hides his face, while the monster tries to take advantage of this and attacks Ushio while he isn't looking. Thankfully, however, he is saved by the intervention of Izuna, who jumped in between tanking the blow and protecting Ushio before he fell to the ground. Ushio grabs Izuna and falls back, putting him on the ground, but the monster pushes forward and tries to attack him. Ushio, however, blocks his attack and is now very mad. He starts forcing the monster back with a series of attacks, but even his body is reaching its limits. He stands there panting, but Tora comes beside him and tells him that he has a plan. He tells Ushio that they need to lure the monster out near Satoru's eye, where Jun can use her love to kill the monster. Yes, this show really got weird. They run away from the monster pretending to be scared and follows them reaching near the eye, when suddenly they turn around ready to face him. The monster realizes what's happening and tries to run away, but is caught and pushed by Izuna in front of the eye so he can be killed. But by doing this, Izuna is also sacrificing his own life, which Ushio isn't ready to accept, and he goes against Tora's wishes of leaving Izuna to die and rushes towards the monster at an incredible speed, stabbing in the heart at the same time when Jun shows her power of love. They finally emerge from the tears of Satoru, who has now woken up, and they start rejoicing when suddenly Ushio loses control of his body and starts getting controlled by the spirit of the beast's spear. That's it for this video. Make sure to like and subscribe for part 3, and watch this next video on screen.